Yo, 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 what's up, guys?
Hello,
Happy
Earthlings.
Friday.
Happy Friday.
Hola.
Welcome back. Operation
Welcome
Hustle.
So today's podcast is going to be about learning how to manage your focus by seeking clarity in your thoughts. And I wanted to open up the podcast today with this. And I found this so I can't say this is my quote. I found this in an e-book, The Daily Stoic is what it's
Ooh.
called. And so I'm going to read it. Each day presents the chance to overthink things. What should I wear? Do they like me? Am I eating well enough? What's next for me in life? Is my boss happy with my work? Surely all the distractions around modern life is overwhelming, but amid all these distractions, it's possible to stay focused. So what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to, there's a little bit more I want to read in this book, throughout the episode, but I wanted to kind of start off by, asking these two different things that they do to help stay focused amid life's circumstances. Ollie, do you want to start?
Yeah. For me, I like to meditate and lists, as well as just overall if I have like a physical outlet, if I'm working out. And then also I like to incorporate so list, meditation, working out, and then if I'm learning something, I find that like constant stimulus of new knowledge is really helpful for me whenever it comes to handling like current situations, because I feel like I stagnate if I'm operating off of old knowledge relatively consistently. I'm the type of person where it just almost like seeps into the rest of my life, and it's like this is getting like too monotonous, and my mind just wants to repeat old patterns. So I have to like change what I'm learning.
Oh, so this is what I heard.
Like
So
that.
correct me if I'm wrong. So basically you're saying like you can come up with different practices and mantras that might help you deal with life and keep your focus. But it's good to change them up because that, continuing to follow the same practices, the same mantras can become stagnant and then therefore bring you back to stagnant old habits.
Yeah, life is like insanely dynamic, and you have to be dynamic with it. That's really the only way.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I will say this. At one point in time when my life was chaotic and I was quitting drinking, I had a mantra that I used that worked for me, and it was, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. And so when I was feeling like I couldn't deal with life, I would just say, hey, to myself, like, this too shall pass. It always does. But although it works sometimes, now I've been through even more life experiences, and that doesn't always work. Sometimes I need to remind myself of, other things and use other mantras. So now, a counselor had given me this advice, and it was the best advice I've ever been given. After my parents died, it was just, a lot of life circumstances, stress, pressure, grief can definitely keep that mind crazy and chaotic, and definitely make you live in your thoughts and not keep your focus. But one thing I have to remind myself is, what is the truth? I got to tell myself the truth. The truth is, I have shelter, I have a roof over my head, I have food on the table, I'm comfortable, I have clothes to wear, have a vehicle to drive, I have a job, I'm breathing. And I start going down the list of things of gratitude, things that I'm, grateful for. I might start with like things, like I said, work that comes to mind. And then I might start, really getting down to like more broader, themes. Like I said, like I'm breathing today, I woke up, I'm actually opened my eyes, and there's so many people out there that you can't see or that can't hear. And today, actually, one of Alejandro's clients had came to visit us, and she just went through. She went through a medical emergency, and so just seeing her going through something and saying, she had said to us, "This isn't going to stop me."
Very inspiring.
It's inspiring, and then it just reminds you again of that mantra. What is the truth? The truth is, I could be working with a cane right now. The truth is, I could have lost all my progress and my workouts and my strength. The truth is, there are people that are dealing with other life circumstances and not allowing that to get them down. So why should I? And Justin, how about you? Any sort of mantras, life practices that you follow that help you to manage stress and keep those thoughts clear?
Stress management, usually working out helps pretty good. And I've been trying to do longboard rides. Ali, I know yours is RIP to Ali's longboard. It's lost in someone's closet. Either way, I've been taking longboard rides to kind of clear the mind, get back on track, refocus. Taking notes helps, and trying to just, I guess, reorganize life.
Yeah.
Going reorganizing things kind of helps you put things in order of, I guess, importance.
And that kind of leads us into what I'm going to read next. So what else this ebook says is, Let's follow the dictum that NFL coach Bill Belichick gives his players. Do your job like a Roman, like a good soldier, or a master of your craft. Reduce your focus to the task right in front of you, presently in that moment, right? You don't need to get lost in 1,000 other disturbances or other people's business. Mark Aurelius, and I could be saying that wrong, so
Marcus Aurelius.
right, don't butcher me. The Roman emperor advised that we should always approach each task as if it's the last thing we'll ever do on earth. This way, we will be able to focus on what matters and not give into the distractions. He also suggested that using the Stoic mantra, a reminder to use when we start to feel the weight of everyday life upon us, it says essentially, I have what it takes to keep it out. I can see the truth, develop your mantra, and use it to find clarity you desire. And so I wanted to build off of that because I think that's so important, that it is easy to get lost in other distractions when in reality we have to remember whatever it is that we are doing in that moment, whether you're at fight practice, you're at work, we're at home taking care of the dogs, or you're at home taking care of your kid, focus on that task in front of you. And don't let those other disturbances, those other worries, those other anxieties come into that moment, because at that time, in that moment, you have one task here to focus on, right? And you do whatever that task is, like it's your job, like a promotion depends on it. Take care of your dog, like a promotion depends on it. Take care of your kid, like a promotion depends on it. Because otherwise, you're going to get lost in your thoughts. And although the mind is a very powerful thing, and it can do a lot of great things for us, right? It can, help us realize that we have more potential, that we can exceed a new limit, right? The mind is very powerful. It can help us overcome good things. But the mind is also very powerful in a bad way. And you can get very much caught up in those negative thoughts, and in those racing thoughts where it's just on overdrive. It's like a hamster on a wheel, like bad negative thought, right? So this is essentially what that's talking about. Mantras help to center us, help us to see clarity within our thoughts. And so I think that's important, because a lot of us, out there are struggling with stress, with this pandemic that just went through, and like nobody's really, I think people forget, right, on how to kind of recenter themselves. And I think that this is definitely relevant to, just experiences that everybody feels, but also experiences that I think that, we've been feeling with just, not having a vacation yet. So we're, since July. So we're getting ready to get on vacation soon here. My sister's going to be visiting just to help reset, rejuvenate. But definitely these mantras are important. And I think other practices too, like the two of them mentioned working out. And maybe that's not your stress reducer, but it is important because, again, the mind is a very powerful thing and a good thing, and also very powerful in a bad way.
Yeah, it definitely can make you do or think bad things. If you over stress about things, you hyper focus on negative things, you're going to start being negative.
Absolutely.
But if you hyper focus on good things, it can be really good. I just watched a podcast on Spotify, which we're on. It was Joe Rogan and Mr. Beast. I know you guys know who Mr. Beast is. Mm-hmm. He's very popular on YouTube, and he spent his entire childhood studying YouTube, and he's the #1 YouTuber ever. He's got the most videos with the most views. He makes a shit ton of money, but he also spends all the money earned right back into the next video. And he hyper focused. I think he said 5 years of his time on studying what YouTube videos are doing the best, what thumbnails are doing the best on YouTube. And it was all YouTube based. And he literally kept his focus on one platform, not all the platforms. And all he cares about is YouTube. But he hyper focused and made himself a lot of money just by hyper focusing on one thing over and over and over and obsessing over it, to the point where he became super successful. And now he's helping other people build their channels, and he's doing a lot of good things. He's doing a lot of food drives, donating. One of his channels is literally donating all the money to giving food out to people that need it.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah.
But he's hyper focused on one thing and one thing only, and it's making YouTube videos and making them better every time.
And I think the important thing to point out is that at one point in time when he was, studying YouTube, he wasn't making money by studying, right? This was, his own time that he was spending, but he knew in the long run that if he kept being consistent, he kept studying, that eventually success would come out of that, as long as he put as much effort into that as he would his job. And so
That
that's
was his job.
right. But again, in the beginning, he probably wasn't paid for researching, doing all this stuff. He was, a kid. So, but it's important to remember that, because like I think there's a good business tip, and within what you just said is like, so many people get caught up in trying to figure out, oh, well, how can I, do this? How can I do that? And, maybe I should find all these different streams of revenue. And that's great too. But, what this guy was focusing on was one. And then once he mastered that, he ended up starting to go into other streams of revenue. Cause I found myself doing that before, like, starting to think about like, people selling things on Amazon or Etsy or this or that. Or, we have a silhouette, yes, we're using it to make shirts for our business, but we could make money out of that selling things on Etsy. And then I realized like that's taking away from my energy at work. And like right now, work needs all the attention and focus, because there's ways to expand your business in so many different ways. All it takes is just effort, consistency, constant restructuring and constant research on trying to see what you can do with your business, and research with what's new in your industry. But I think that's important, that really kind of gave me an eye-opener, is like, put your head on one thing and focus until you feel as if it's completely mastered. And then like him, he felt like he mastered YouTube, and so now he's helping other people master YouTube, and so there's a second stream, right? But at first,
that dude is
mastering it.
He's a master of his craft.
Yeah,
and
I think that was something I definitely needed to hear.
Example, like most sports players, they play one sport. Yes, in high school they play a couple sports, blah 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 blah. There's no multi-pro athlete that was super successful in two different sports. Yes, there's a few that have done it, but they have never been like uber successful in both sports, because you need to put the hyper focus into one area.
Right.
And the other areas will distract you. So if you have too many businesses, one of them will fall apart, because you're going to be too focused on all the other things.
No, this is, and I do believe when we're talking about this, is like owning and operating, right? Like, you definitely, if you get to a point where, you're like, hey, I have, X, Y, and Z businesses, but I actually have managers that are running this, right? That's different. But like when you're in the heart of it, like Justin and I are, and you're owning and operating, if I were to start doing this, silhouette business, and start owning and operating that, and being the one that's making all the crafts, and then also going to work, like something, and then also, being the nutritionist, something would fall. So it's about making sure that I put all my focus on exactly what I'm good at in my craft and the task that's right in front of me.
Yeah. Even like in the motorcycle class I took, they said wherever your eyes go is where the bike goes. So wherever your mind goes is where your life goes, basically. So if you're focused on one thing, stay on track, keep that focus, keep driving towards it, and get the shit done. Yeah. There's plenty of distractions, and I have distractions, and so does everyone at this table.
Another thing I liked about this book was towards the end of this page, he says, you can also keep focus and fix your attention on what is essential by accepting that you can't control everything. Some things are just beyond human control. And according to the Stoics, the circle of control contains just one thing, your mind. Your mind and how it responds to situations are the only things you have control over. You have zero control over the circumstances that come your way in life, right? And I think we've kind of touched on this in other episodes. It's like you can control your reactions to the circumstances happening around you in life, right? And we can make mistakes and learn from those and be like, okay, I need to react differently the next time, right? But you can't control the circumstance itself, right? Unless you're the person that caused that problem. But I'm saying like, circumstances coming your way, I couldn't control that my mother or father died. I could not control that, right? But unfortunately, I have a business and that still needs to run. And so, I need to keep my mind focused, right? But circumstances are always going to come your way in life, a kid might need to be, he's sick and might need to be picked up from school, and you can't leave work. And now that circumstance is one that you can't control, but you can control how you react to that situation. Anything to touch on this, Ollie?
Yeah, I really like the whole Mr. B scenario, and bringing up how, when he hyper focused, it really allowed him to delve into, something that was a wealth of knowledge and money and I guess success for him. So there's definitely a lot to be said about really honing in and focusing on one thing. It's massive. I mean, let's imagine that like what you focus on is a pie, right? Yeah. And imagine if
apple pie.
Yeah, and like
so what flavor?
I can focus on that.
So every time you refocus, you devote a different part of that pie to like a separate part of yourself. So if there were 8 parts of you sitting around a table and you gave 8 little slices out to each part, each person or each part of you would be relatively full. But if there was one part of you and that one part of you ate that whole damn pie, you'd be pretty damn full, right?
Possibly sick.
Exactly.
Probably sick.
It's just the ability or the capacity to bring about what's whole instead of what is impartial or what is partial.
Yeah.
Hyper-focused people.
Like I imagine, because you're in mixed martial arts, it's probably hard to really master like something like Muay Thai if you're also trying to put the same amount of effort into Muay Thai into boxing, like two different sports, like he was talking about, or those coincide. I'm just trying to find an example that relates to you.
They coincide.
Yeah, they do.
The only
They're both
thing,
striking
yeah,
sports.
the only punch that boxing doesn't throw,
Would be
that Muay Thai
jiu-jitsu
doesn't
then?
throw.
Would that be a better, comparison?
Yeah, that'd be a good comparison.
Yeah.
That's why I specifically focus my attention towards Muay Thai. I was doing
Because at one
jujitsu.
point in time you were doing jiu-jitsu, and
Yep.
then you decided to put all your attention on Muay Thai. And I really feel like, I think Justin said this to you before, but I'm going to reiterate. I feel like watching you hit the bag now that all of your attention has been on just Muay Thai instead of Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, I think you found your avenue. Your skill is it's evident that you're getting more skilled and you're getting better and you're getting cleaner with your technique and everything. And I don't even know much about Muay Thai, but just from what I've seen watching fights and stuff with you, it's evident that the focus that you've put into it is paying off.
Oh yeah.
And so again, hyper focus. If you start putting your focus in all these other areas,
technique.
something's gonna fall, right? And that's not to say that you can't do more than one thing. And like I'm gonna give you an example. That's not to say that Justin and I can't have a family and run a business, right? Because attention's going to be on both. We're talking about when it comes to like allowing negative thoughts to creep in and, take your focus away from things, the task that's in front of you at that present moment. And also things that are, goals of yours, right? If you're running a business and you start putting your attention on, distractions or start comparing yourself to your other competitors instead of focusing on what, your customers and your clients and what you have going on, before you know it now, you're spending all your time in these negative thoughts about your competition and not about the clients that are in front of you being loyal and paying you and helping you keep the doors open, right? I think that's a perfect example because as a business owner, that's a struggle that we all, I think, go through.
Yeah. I think you need to master what you're doing in order to do other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
agree.
we're trying to do this right now. Like we're trying to really hone in on the business, master it, get this really good, solid machine running. And it has been for 5+ years now.
Yep.
And we're growing, but we want to really make sure that we have everything in order so we can start our family. And that's just an example of we're trying to master what we're doing so we can start to put our focus into other things. Well, we already mastered that and we know it runs a certain way, the way we made it. And we keep it going with ease once we master it. If we threw a family in the middle of the mix, year 1, who knows if year 5 would have even been here.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Like if we would have had a family right after we got married, which we almost did, and then unfortunately, both my parents had died right after. So that plan went out the window. But, everything's for a reason because honestly, we sit here and think like we have seen so much growth in our business, expanding during a pandemic, paying off our build off right away, paying our build off in cash. Like this was, astronomical moves for Justin and I. And this was, goals of ours and things that we never thought we were going to accomplish. And, I'm sure we would have made it work, but who's to say that we wouldn't have had as much focus on this business if we're being pulled, mom and daddy were being pulled, separate ways. And so, again, we've decided for us, the best thing was to try to really make sure that we, focus in on what we have in front of us, make sure, like he said, like it's a well-oiled machine before we add another task into the mix. That's going to require a lot of our attention. So
like, I'm sure Ali feels this way about Muay Thai. Like he wants to master Muay Thai. And then if possibly MMA is down the road, right? You add in a little bit extra, you start doing jiu-jitsu, some floor game.
Yeah. What is your goals with this? Because I think we talked about your fight, and so do we have another fight coming up now that you're getting better? What's the new goals?
Yeah, I would love to have another fight as soon as possible.
I'll fight you
unfortunately,
right after this podcast.
A little bit of a tattoo infection going on, so I had to take a little bit of time off of training again, which kills me. Every time I got to take off of training, I'm like,
well,
Ollie's skin just does not like tattoos.
Yeah, you probably. I don't know how you're gonna get that whole sleeve. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be a long process.
I'm literally, I'm having to pace it. I'm having to pace the tattooing out. Like I'm like 3-4 months 3 or 4
before
months.
you get
'Cause
another or they do
Yeah,
more work.
I can't afford to like keep missing
Well,
Muay
it's a
Thai.
setback.
Yeah, and it's like I'm like
It's a
I feel
distraction
drained
from your main focus.
Yeah, like
See?
I get like a little feverish.
Yeah,
like,
that's not good.
to the night of. It's no, it's not good. It's terrible.
definitely not
Maybe he needs
good.
to check that ink. Bro.
All right, so the goal is to still get a fight as soon as possible. We now have a little break because of the tattoo. But do you feel like now coming back? Because did you get to go back to? I feel like you told me you got to go back to practice
Eh?
since you've gotten better with the rib, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So
Practice.
since going back, do you feel like that getting injured set you back, or you're seeing that you're like muscle head memory and you're right back at it?
It definitely set me back.
Yeah.
It put my left side a little further forward. So in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, it might have brought me further forward in that aspect in particular, but overall it definitely set me back.
We sharpen up the left. Now the right slacking a little bit, and I'm sure you're a little bit hypersensitive on that side, even just like reacting to
Yeah,
things. Just
I
so you
feel
don't get hurt
slow.
again.
Because like it's
Yeah.
you don't have the same intensity. It's literally impossible to stimulate or simulate the same intensity when you don't have someone actually throwing punches at you. Because
Exactly.
I couldn't take the punches. I was injured.
Yeah, you
so.
can't react to a bag.
Yeah,
It just kind of swings, and you can react, but it's not gonna be the same.
yeah. It's like trying to paint with a. Never mind. It's like trying to paint with your fingers instead of a brush. There we go.
There
I
we go.
got
There
it
we
out.
go.
Okay,
Man,
my mind like stopped
Yes, yes,
working.
yes.
It
Lizard
stalled.
brain.
It
I
stalled.
mean, you can finger paint.
Yeah, I know. But it's like it's not as accurate as with brushes. Like the tools
Right.
allow for
I don't know,
it.
dude. Some of these people with this charcoal shit, all these people,
All right,
like,
but that's not with fingers.
But it's never as good. It's never as
I
good
don't
as
know
like
though,
the-
dude. So you ever see that guy on TikTok? He just draws with a pen.
Okay,
Just a pen.
all right,
a pen is a fine point. You can do a
But
lot.
I'm sure there's someone in the world that can do it with their fucking finger. They
Maybe.
mastered the
guess.
finger paint.
if they had a really long nail, maybe.
Yeah,
Ah.
maybe they cut their
Or a
nail
really
to a
skinny
point.
finger.
That makes
Maybe they got a
sense.
little knob.
Oh my goodness.
I-
Anyways, back to what's important.
Distracted.
But so yeah, it could be a good thing if you think about the one side could be a little more dominant now. But again, once the tattoo is healed, you put all your focus back into it. Again, repeating and reiterating what we're saying here. You put your focus on one thing, he's gonna see that strength come back. He's gonna see that reaction come back when he starts to get
Yeah.
right back into the same swing of things
Go
with
bounce back.
sparring. But it's important to
100%.
like we said, put your focus on one thing because Ali was doing that jujitsu before and trying to figure out his thing, and this is definitely his thing. So he's figured
Yeah.
that out. But so this is just a piece of advice that we're giving you guys.
With
it's
that
just-
sport too, you also got to prepare to be injured because you're always gonna get injured.
Yeah.
It's like any sport. Like when I played football, prepare to be fucking hurt because you're gonna get hurt no matter what.
Oh
There's
yeah.
gonna be a little setback. Most of my injuries set me back, but then they do push me forward. Like he was saying, the last time I injured the back, not long ago, trap bar deadlift.
Mhm.
That knee kind of gave out, the back just fucking. And then I started to hone in on my weakness, which was my glute, my
I don't-
booty.
I don't
butt
think it
cheeks.
was the back making that noise.
Anyways.
Oh, something happened,
All right.
bro.
So, as he would say, Snoopy, what did you do? Even though we're in the gym, Snoopy's nowhere to be found. So, anyways, this is what I think I'd like to wrap up with because I really like this. We've talked about the Theodore Roosevelt speech before, The Man in the Arena. And so this is what I'm going to end with this ebook again. Even though emotions are capable of pushing us to act, there are many reasons not to let them. And it's now a cliche quote, Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech, which celebrates the one whose face is covered in dust and sweat and blood, who strives heroically compared to those who sit on the sidelines. And so again, this just goes back to, hey, you got the blood, the sweat, the tears, you're putting all the, work into what the task is in front of you. As long as you're consistent with it, that will thrive. But whatever you put your effort in will thrive. Whatever you don't, won't, right? So whatever you water will grow. And it's important to, again, just remember that when you are going through these negative things, maybe you've let it affect you for a day, a week, a month. But hey, you have the power and the control to let it stop affecting you today, right now. I think it's easy once we're having a bad day to let the whole bad day affect our whole day. And I say this all the time to Justin, and he says it to me like, oh, I just want to have a good day. And despite what's going on, we look at each other and say, okay, let's have a good rest of the day. If it didn't start off that way, let's turn this around now because we have the ability to control that. And we have the ability to control our emotions and not let them control us. And I
Yeah.
think it's important that we remember that.
Start your day with a win, then
Yeah.
you win the day.
Small gratitude
Usually if-
things.
If you do like start the day with something small and it feels like you won, like making the bed. If you do that every day, you have your first win. For the
Yeah.
day.
And as soon as you do it, you gotta go, woo! Like Ric Flair, you know?
Yep, that's a win for
Thanks, your boy.
today.
Let the
Yeah.
office know.
Win
a
every
little win
day.
dance.
One win at a time.
Yeah.
One win at a time.
I mean,
one
the
day at a
small
time.
wins.
This
Yeah.
too shall pass. Find your mantra.
Little
Whatever-
by little, a little becomes a lot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Whatever that mantra may be for you. Maybe it's something biblical. Maybe it's a scripture. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something you found on an ebook. Maybe it's some sort of motivational speech that you took a part of it out of that. Maybe it's something that you pertains to just you and you only. Maybe you just you have maybe a card that isn't brand new, but it definitely gets you from point A to point B. So you remind yourself like I'm getting
matter
from
now
point A
that
to
gas,
point B,
bro.
point A to point B.
Thank you, Joey.
Okay, here we go about the gas. Anyways, so again,
Biden
you have the power to
Raising
control
my
your
prices.
mind.
Ooh. Cost a
taking my
little
rights.
Oh my
This is
god.
why I get taken down.
Here we go.
Donald Trump, 2024.
Oh my
bit. Here he
goodness.
comes.
Where's the
This
Trump
is how you get
impersonation?
views, people.
See,
All
yeah,
you gotta do is drop Trump's
give him
name.
the
and
Trump
people
impersonation. We'll see you
fucking lose
next
their
week.
mind.
I'll tell you, if I was in office, Putin would never have done this. I have a very, very good relationship with him. We never would have run into this situation with Ukraine that we're in right now. And Joe Biden, sleeping bad. He's been sleeping on Russia. He's been sleeping on your taxes. He's been sleeping on these gas prices.
heard it.
Okay, we will fix it. Abs Fitness.
We got our
All
special
right,
guest,
guys.
Donald
He
Trump.
can impersonate anyone. So
Yeah,
you have
Ali
a
Trump.
request, send it in. All
Yeah,
right, we will
anybody
see
you
you
wanna
next
hear.
week. Operation
Request it.
Hustle every Friday 2 to 2:30 p.m. You can find us on Spotify and you can find us on Apple Podcasts. Operation Hustle. We have over 20 episodes on there. I think we're on episode 29 today. And you can find us
31.
on 31. Okay. Wow, 31. I'm sleeping on.
Focus.
I'm sleeping on them.
hyper-focus.
Anyways, so you can find us on Instagram, absfitness_Brandon Florida, Facebook, Abs Fitness LLC, YouTube, Abs Fitness Film House, where you can, pop on and watch us live every Friday. And then Justin, go ahead and give them the TikTok
Abs Fitness
and the
Tampa.
website.
Website www.absfitnesstrainer.com.
Woo!
Online training, personal training, in-person training, private gym,
Yeah.
boxing,
Abs Fitness.
hit classes.
Out.
Yeah.
We out. Goodbye.
Deuces.